It is 7 p.m. I think today is August 16th. I call to order the regular meeting of the Economic Development Commission. The first item we have on the agenda is a public hearing. Do we have anybody at the public hearing?
No, Mr. President.
Okay, I guess that takes care of the public hearing. Do we have any citizens to be heard?
No, Mr. President.
All right, next item is the consent agenda. It's approval of the minutes for the last two meetings, July 19th and the special meeting of the 31st. Approval of the revenue and expenditure report dated August 11th. And approval of a resolution by the Board of Directors of the EDC to approve a funding agreement with the City of Helotes for fiscal year 2018. Does anyone have any questions on those items?
I have one question.
Okay.
I noticed sales tax revenue tripled from what we projected. Do we know what that is?
Yes, sir. We're now receiving sales tax from BMC Millwork as part of that 380 agreement that was signed last year. And that is 25%. Well, no, we did report all of it. We are going to have to remit some of that in a reimbursement once we receive it from the comptroller. But
So it'll be reduced by about half then.
yes, sir. Yes, sir. There's a base fee. I believe that was around $8,750 in sales tax we get to keep, and then we have to remit 75% above that.
So total annually, you're looking at about $130,000 additional per year.
That we keep.
Right, just for the
Good.
EDC, and the city's gonna get, what, 250 or?
Look, it even puts a smile on my face. Our street maintenance fund goes up about $275,000, and the city's about $250,000.
Right. So that, we approved that, if you remember, about, right before the first of the year, about the first of the year to do that, enter that agreement with BMC, and it's finally come to fruition and should be quite beneficial to us and the city both.
They are
Absolutely.
a larger retailer now than Walmart.
Yeah.
It's all good news.
Very good.
Okay, could we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Sheriff, if I may just clarify, on item number 6, we did not include June 30th, 2017. We believed that we were going to get that, but we haven't received it in time. And so tonight, y'all would just be approving the March 31st, and hopefully by the next meeting, you'll have the June report.
Should have it,
Yes, yes, sir.
okay.
May I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda items for
Motion by Diane,
Second.
5, 6,
approved by Wayne. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. At this time, I'd like to move item 11 up ahead of the items for consideration, and let Glenn will fill you in on what we're doing.
Thank you, Mr. President. Tonight, we've invited Retail Strategies, both Ashton Antoinetti. I'm used to calling her Arrington, but that's all right. No, and we have Bear, who is just 4 weeks into Retail Strategies, but has really hit the ground running. Has had some site tours, met with retail brokers yesterday and today, and they're going to be doing the commercial development update this evening.
Thank you, Glenn. I'm still confused with the last name, too. Just got married.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
And this is just a copy of the presentation of the slides that we'll have this
Thank you.
evening. You can
Thank you.
see it a little bit more clearly. Do we need to just cue you next slide, or is there a way to change it?
Just cue me. and
Okay.
I'll change it.
So thank you very much for having us here. Again, my name is Ashton Antoinetti, and I am the Portfolio Director for Retail Strategies Partnership with the EDC here. And that kind of role is just overseeing the day-to-day aspects of our partnership, ensuring that our team has all the tools that they need, making sure that we're meeting deadlines, providing all accurate information, and being the main point of contact for Glenn and Rick. You guys have two very, very capable intelligent professionals running operations here in Helotes. We work with communities across the country, and I can tell you that you are very lucky to have these two gentlemen on your team. They are very knowledgeable, not only about the industry where a lot of people are not, but also have great relationships and are very well respected within the local community, the brokerage community, and some of the property owners. We hear nothing but good things. And I think at one time, maybe that was a different perception, and that perception has changed, at least for the 2 years that we've been on board. So it's an honor to work with them and the entire board. Before we get started in kind of going over where we are through our process, I wanted to give Bear an introduction, and he's our newest team member. So your team is not changing, we're just adding a new member to it. He brings several years of retail real estate experience in-house with corporate national retailers and developers. So really kind of gives us a fresh look on things and a perspective from a different background and relationships within the industry, specifically here in Texas, that are going to be very valuable to our partnership. So I'll let him kind of give you a little bit of information on his background.
Thank you, Ashton. As I said earlier, pleasure being here. As Ashton was saying, my background has primarily been with both retailers and landlords alike. Started my career right out of college, went to work for Books A Million, which you may or may not be familiar with them. I'm not even sure if the Alamo Ranch store is still open, maybe. Was there for 4 to 5 years. Obviously, we're all familiar with the book industry and the evolution that it's gone through with Amazon and Apple and other technologies. From there, developed Second & Charles, which is their new buy-sell trade concept, very similar to Half Price Books, which I'm sure you're all familiar with. Actually spent probably a total of 18 months in and out of them across the country studying them. But that's where that concept and that company is growing, and it's just a testament of how retail is not dead. It's just evolving, and people are learning how to compete in this new online e-commerce bricks-to-click type atmosphere. Also, as well as Books A Million, Hancock Fabrics, and kudos to San Antonio. Overall, with Hancock Fabrics, it was not the reason why the company had to file bankruptcy. It really boiled down to people can't balance a checkbook. San Antonio was one of Hancock Fabric's best markets, which is just a testament to how strong you guys' economy is and continues to grow in Texas overall. From the retailer side, also have development experience. Books A Million came and called me and contacted me again and wanted me to come back to run their development division. Again, just another testament to diversification for these companies. As recently worked on a $100 million project in Jacksonville, Florida, across the street from one of the most powerful regional shopping centers in the entire Southeast, Simon Properties, which is the largest landlord in the world. It is one of their marquee projects, first Microsoft store in the country, opened there, and the property that we acquired was right across the street from that. So as you might imagine, if you can remember how the RIM got off the ground, kind of slow because of La Centera and how things grow and evolve, et cetera, we were able to get that project rolling, and I'm happy to report that when that project opens here in 2 or 3 months, it will be 96% leased, pre-leased. So if it's any testament of not so much that I know more about anyone, I've just been in it for a while. I love what I do. I'm passionate about retail. I'm a firm believer that it's here to stay. It will always be here. It's just a heck of a lot different now than it was 5 to 10 years ago. But then again, we don't ride around in a horse and buggy anymore, do we? So it's just evolving, and it's just taking some time. But I can assure you, from what I've seen across the country, it's just only a matter of time, and good things are to come. And I'm glad to be a part of this partnership and everything that Helotes has to offer.
Thank you, Bear. Rick, can we go to the next slide, please? So in addition to just Bear and I, you have a very deep team. These guys have met some of them at conferences and things, but it's not just Bear and I that are working for you. We have an extensive marketing team, research team, GIS team, executive leadership team that provides daily support. We weigh in on them with pretty much everything that we do. So it's a very dynamic team that you have working for you, and I think I speak for everyone back in our office in Birmingham when I say we're honored to be partnering with you. Before we move forward, I kind of want to go over just our process and what we're doing on a daily basis so that you can understand how Retail Strategies is working for the city of Helotes. And really that can be broken down into 4 main kind of categories. Industry analysis, which is what's going on with the latest retail trends, who's closing, who's opening new stores, who's expanding, where are the most realistic opportunities for your market. And that's a pretty heavy task, especially in the industry today. As you know, it's a quickly evolving, and someone told me once that retail is the fastest changing industry, and I truly believe that is spot on. Market analysis would be the next level, and that's really getting to understand not only your market, but the surrounding communities and your trade area. I'll go over that a little bit more, and I think we've covered it before in previous conversations, but it's not the same today as it will be in 3 months from now. So that's a pretty heavy task, in staying on top of that information and making sure that the information that we're providing on behalf of the city is the most accurate and up-to-date information. The same goes with the real estate analysis. A property just happened yesterday. A property that was not available last week is now going to be listed on the market. We may have stores closed, so we're connecting with all the shopping center brokers here locally to try to find out what the leases look like, how they're structured, who may be coming up for a new lease, so that we can get on top of vacancies before the current retailer may exit, and try to find someone to be able to backfill it and as quickly as possible, so that we're not leaving vacant spaces open. And just working with those brokers and property owners and trying to create realistic expectations and price for their property, helping them understand the city's interest in maintaining aesthetics and trees and things that are valued to the community, and why those can't be changed in certain circumstances, and then sometimes how we can work together to make the most benefit for both parties. And then proactive retail recruitment, and that's really a daily part of our process. Through emails and phone conversations and conference representation, we are actively working to get the story of Helotes in front of the retail industry. Next slide, please. I'm going to let Bear go over this slide, because when he said he was passionate about retail, he was not kidding. He is very, very passionate about retail. He sends me emails every morning about what the stock market's doing and what retailers are doing, and he is on top of it. So I'm going to let him kind of cover the changes that we're seeing in the industry and why that's important that we're staying on top of that for our efforts here in the city.
And let me just first off, if you guys have any questions at all,
Just stop us.
literally just yell at me. I can just go on and on and on, and it's very complex stuff. But really, I just want to take this time to talk about the industry overall, from the horse's mouth, and all I've ever been is a retailer. I'm a retailer. I'm a merchant at heart. And, on a daily basis, we as a society can't help but read and hear the headlines and, the pundits of the media industry want to plague it as a retail apocalypse. And I'm here to tell you, without a shadow of a doubt, that is the furthest thing from the truth. In my honest, humble opinion, I believe we're going through a retail shift that really should have happened 15 years ago. Not so much from a supply and demand standpoint, but from an operation type of view. When you look at you look at the amount of stores that are closing, it's more important that who these stores are, what these merchants have inside their stores. Just recently we were talking about Applebee's. Just by show of hands, how many people have eaten at Applebee's in the last month? One. And once a month, maybe. It's just, it's not the merchants and the operations that are having success and people that want to go that are closing stores. It's the merchants like the JCPenney's, the Dillard's, the Sears, the tired Kmart, tired retailers that do not have the right merchandise, nor do they have the right personnel inside their stores to support it. I have a saying that if you got good product and great people, more than likely great things are happening inside your four walls. And you tell me the last time you've walked into any traditional big box retailer that they're announcing closings, and you tell me how your experience was. Nobody's going to talk to you, and even if they are, they can't tell you where anything is, and it's no fault of their own. And the beast was designed that way, and it's grown into what it is. And they can't afford to pay their associates a certain wage because of the problem lies with the margins of the goods that they're providing. You know, retail, you know, in the 50s and the 60s, even the 70s was great, but it was great because it was local. You know, your boutique shop down the street that Sandra owned, Sandra always had the stuff you wanted. She knew you personally. She knew exactly what you needed. She knew your child's name, all that good stuff. You don't have that now, and a lot of that has to do with the street and the stock market, and no fault of their own again. You know, they're trying to expand, and the board of directors and the invested interest in the stock are pushing for profits. And how do you make profits? And well, you cut margin, you cut staff, you cut expenses. You don't get innovative. The best companies out there that are still thriving in this economy, Chick-fil-A. You see their stock lately? No, because they're not publicly traded. Hobby Lobby, great retailer. Soft goods, big box, but guess what? They're still thriving, 750 stores now. I mean, David Green is one of my mentors in the entire industry because his principles are, you know, and it is a Christian-based company, and whether you're a believer or not, you can't argue with the principles of operating in the right way and putting the employee first. And operators that follow that mentality are having success. And the good thing is, in all this, Helotes, you don't have this problem. You're not overbuilt. You don't have any of these operations. You have a blank palette. You can almost create your own destiny. What you have is a great community and great rooftops. And right now, you talk to any expanding, unique retailer out there, you ask them where they want to be, it's not a high level. You know, even 3 or 4 years ago, they want to know the 20-minute drive time, 15-minute, the trade area, et cetera. Right now, they want to know who are the people that live right there and what do they do? What do they hang around? And you drive through here and people believe in it. They love Helotes. They love their community. And what these operators are wanting are just that. They're wanting people that are going to buy local, stay local, and no fault of their own. I wouldn't want to fight the traffic going to Bandera Point anyways. The biggest challenge, you know, here is just is really land.
Don't get ahead of yourself.
I can keep going. Yeah, just
Let me stop him. Apologize, but next slide, please.
yeah, I told you.
So next slide, please, Rick. So that's kind of high level, what's going on in the industry. We're following those trends really for 2 main reasons for our efforts
Wait, I
here.
gotta back up. I mean, and on this, even the publicly traded guys are having success. If you don't believe me, go Google Target, TJ Maxx, Urban Outfitters, Kohl's. Those 4 guys just reported their sales numbers, and they beat expectations by a landslide. Stocks up 15 to 17%. You know, and those guys are doing the right thing. So, not all publicly traded guys are suffering. There's still some out there that are managing their assets properly.
But this kind of information is important. It's important that we're knowledgeable of it. It's important that we're staying on top of it because we want to make sure that our targets for your community are realistic and that we're providing a competitive advantage because it is a very competitive market. You have a neighboring community that has very strong retail synergy, and you're also a suburb of a major metro area. And so there's as retailers expand across the country, they're going to be looking for major metro areas. And once they build out in those major metro areas, they're going to be looking for the surrounding suburbs. And there are several surrounding suburbs of San Antonio that are competing with Helotes and trying to attract retail. And it's our job to ensure that we're staying on top of who's opening, not only in your neighboring community, but also in San Antonio, how many stores they have, how many they're looking for, so that we can position Helotes in front of them and hopefully sooner than some of these other communities, so that we can get the first, I guess, bite at the apple, you would say. And so those really break down into 3 levels of trends that we're following or industry that we're following, and that's national, regional, and local for the reasons that are identified there. You know, nationally, we're looking at who's backfilling Rack Room Shoes, or not Rack Room, Payless Shoes is closing, Route 21 is closing. Who's backfilling those on a national level across the country, so that when we do have closures, we already have a prospect list of identified of retailers who are targeting those spaces. Regionally, new to market retailers, like I was just explaining about Helotes, one of the targets that we have, and I think everyone's kind of aware of them already, but it is still confidential. They're a new-to-market retailer. They do not have a single store in the state of Texas yet. So it's important that we're able to get in front of these expanding retailers before some of other competing markets are. And then locally, franchise-driven concepts are huge right now. That's very big. These are, development agreements are usually local. So you may have a franchisee out of San Antonio that has a 14-unit development agreement. That's going to affect your market. Those agreements are announced publicly or through our relationship in the industry. We're able to find out and get in front of those franchisees so that we can position opportunities in Helotes in the best light possible. Next slide, please. We're also trying to keep your local leadership and staff informed. We offer or provide webinars and trend reports. The trend reports are specific to your market. They talk about spending patterns of your community. They talk about retailers that are expanding within the state, how many new store openings there have been, and they're categorized. So they're sporting goods, fast service, quick service. That's one of the things that we're seeing right now is that full-service restaurants aren't expanding as rapidly as quick service or fast casual is actually the category is called. That's because the younger generation is wanting to get in and get out. They want experience and they want immediate results. They don't want to sit down and have a 2-hour meal. They want quick and move on to the next thing, go see their movie or go to Topgolf or whatever the event or entertainment aspect of their evening might be. So these are all trends that we're tracking or providing that information to your leadership team and your staff here. Next slide, please. So market research, just kind of digging into what I was just talking about. You have at your disposal through our partnership an extreme amount of data and research. We have really prioritized ourselves or prioritized that within our company. We recently switched data providers because we wanted to ensure that the information that we have is the same information that the retailers have. So while we still have Esri, which is one of the main providers in the industry, we recently switched to PopStats. And that's who Walmart and Costco and Target and J.Crew and a lot of the big national players rely on. So when we provide them information on Helotes, we want it to match what they have. So it's cutting down on the work and not creating more work and causing confusion. So you can see that there are a ton of variables that are run. This is information that we're providing to your local brokers, to your local businesses. It is available to anyone who is interested in it, and it is everything from spending patterns to gap analysis, peer community comparison reports, very detailed information. Next slide, please. We've invested heavily in this, and we hope to utilize it for the benefit of the community. One example that I have for you is, in connecting with these local brokers and looking through their marketing packages for their sites, retailers are looking for demographic parameters. It's one of the first things that they look for when they're reviewing a site. So any retail real estate, commercial real estate marketing package will have demographic information on it. As going through that, I realized with one of the flyers has demographics from 2012 on it. And I called the broker and I said, hey, I noticed that your flyer has 2012 demographics on it. It's 2017. I've ran the numbers from your site, and they're significantly stronger from what you're showing on this flyer. And Bear can tell you from a retailer's perspective, if somebody were to send him a flyer with 2012 information on it or 2014 information on it, that really kind of almost shows neglect or little interest in what you're marketing. So we were able to provide updated demographics in the same format that they already had them on their flyer, so all they had to do was replace what they had with what we were able to give them. And that's happened a couple of times. We had a dessert ice cream concept looking at a site in the market, and we were able to provide a specific report on the spending patterns of the community and eating out and desserts and disposable income and things like that were provided to that broker to help with that relationship. Next slide, please. We're also marketing. We have a very extensive marketing team, like I told you, and I haven't told Glenn and Rick about this yet, but one of our new tools that we're utilizing is websites. So we're creating and developing websites, which has all of the information that we have in a paper format or in a PDF format that we're sending, but it's available in real time through a web portal. It also has properties listed, a letter from the community, if that's something that is worth including, and demographics on every level. So we can send this out, and instead of providing, a document that may have to be printed out or scrolled through, it's all available on a web page. That's something new that we just started creating this year, and we're very excited about it. And then a marketing guide. As I told you, retailers have specific demographic parameters that have to be met. So we've created this flyer that includes all of the basic information that any retailer or developer is going to want to see in taking a first look at a market. It also has a centerfold retail aerial that highlights all of the existing retail in the market. So as new retail is opening and stores are closing, we're adjusting that and changing it to make sure that it's accurate. Next slide, please. Conference representation is one of my favorite things to talk about because it's one of the most valuable things that we're doing for you. I've listed on here the top 4 conferences that we attend that are the most relevant to Helotes, but in addition to those, we attend conferences nationwide. And you may say, well, how is a conference in Illinois relevant to our efforts in Texas? Well, the retailer that we have been talking about, the new-to-market grocer, that was actually identified by our East Coast team at a conference. They had a meeting with their executive real estate committee, and we're told, actually, Texas is our next state for expansion. Do you guys have any markets in Texas? Are you guys working in Texas? And they connected them with me. We reached out and were able to meet them at an ICSC conference, and they hadn't even begun the site review process of markets in the state. They had just set up their real estate office in San Antonio, so we were able to get in front of them and get Helotes, the opportunities in Helotes, in front of them before they had even started doing their own legwork and reviewing those sites. So that's just one example of how the national reach of our company is beneficial to your community. We had a very exciting and successful, busy ICSC conference this year. We had 14 meetings that were relevant to Helotes. We got some good feedback, and we're still working with several of those leads now. And we have conferences coming up this month and throughout the fall that we have high hopes for and expect to be very beneficial to our efforts. Next slide, please. So what's opened in retail since we started working with the community? What's new in retail in Helotes? The 3 big ones are Dollar Tree, Slim Chickens, and Burger King. And no, Burger King's not open yet, but it will be in the Shell station that's being redeveloped. And I included some information on the slide for you so that you can kind of get an idea of how our day-to-day efforts work and how our communication works, and also the time that it takes. Bear can speak probably more to this than I can, but the timeline of a retail real estate deal is anywhere from 18 to 24 months, and that's probably being generous. Even if a deal is set up, from the beginning, it's not like going to buy a house where you and your family just agree, oh, we need a 3-bedroom house and this one's great, let's sign on the dotted line. There's a lot of red tape and processes and committees and approvals that have to take place first, and even just due diligence period. I'll speak to this in a second, but a due diligence period for a grocery store is anywhere from 12 to 18 months. So that's just, nothing is happening during that time. There's no dirt being moved, there's no negotiations. This is just on their end, they're doing their due diligence. So it ties up sites for a long time, and we can't burn bridges and damage relationships by marketing sites that are under contract with other retailers, but it's just part of the process. So it's important to understand that, retail is a marathon, it is not a sprint, and, that's one reason, or that's really the main reason why our partnerships are structured as 3 years. It's not a monetary thing, it's not to make more money, it's because if we didn't set them up that way, we would be setting ourselves up for failure, to be able to try to be successful in a year in something that we know takes longer than that. So I encourage you to review that information and look at the activity. There is growth happening in the community, and it's only going to build off where we've started, and we're very excited about that. Next slide, please. This is the big one, I guess you could say, that we're very excited about. They currently have a site under contract in the market. I'm sure that everyone is probably aware of who they are, but for confidentiality purposes, they've asked us all to sign NDAs, and they're very hush-hush because they are trying to make a big splash in the state, and they have multiple sites under contract. But it would be a great opportunity for the community, and we have done everything in our power to ensure that they have the information that they need that illustrates that the market can and will support a successful store for them here in Helotes. It was actually another site that they wanted that they were not able to work with the property owner on, and we were able to provide another site. So you can see that from September 2016 till today, we still don't have any real activity. We're still waiting. But that's just a good example of the timeline of a real estate deal and also the value of being able to leverage relationships across the country. Next slide, please. You want to talk about this one? Bear's been getting his feet wet with real estate here in Helotes, so.
Yeah, I didn't think she was ever gonna let me talk again. I don't want to bore you guys, because again, this can go on and on and on, but, you know, again, I'm passionate about this. And with what little time I've spent here, like I was telling Glenn earlier, the opportunity is immense, but it's not gonna be quick. There's a reason why Helotes is so beautiful. There's a reason why, you know, you can't see that Walmart from the road, you know, et cetera. But with that said, it's important to know, you know, the guys that are expanding right now, and the timeline that they're on. And also as important as that is, we all know that, you know, you guys' competition, and it always will be for the foreseeable future, is Bandera Point. If Ashton called me today 4 or 5 years ago, hey, Bear, let me show you this site in Helotes, I would maybe give her 30 seconds, you know, to talk to me. Not that I'm not interested in Helotes, but I am poaching Pandora Point, okay, because I know that X, Y, and Z are closing stores, and they may not close that store because Bandera Point is a very successful shopping center. But if they close enough stores, that store may also close through liquidation. So in my real estate committee that sits around a table is okay on waiting for that spot, because the whole country is a canvas. So there's 5 real properties that I wanted to talk about today. One being the 13.5 acres on the right, where the KFC, you said?
KFC and the wash tub.
KFC car wash and the mystery third tenant is looking at. Fantastic opportunity there, obviously, and frankly, I'm a bit shocked that it hasn't been developed thus yet. I mean, you can't miss it. 2, which I think is a very strategic site, is the Compass Bank parcel. 2.5 acres. That thing could go 3 or 4 different ways. It could be a single user. I think a single user would be great for it, but it's important to understand, you know, it's not just about, you know, that guy wanting to be there. You got to think about construction costs. You got to think about land cost and what these guys are willing to pay for rent and what makes their pro forma work. You know, and a lot of times, you know, it's very hard to make a single tenant work on a very expensive corner. That's not a pharmacy that fetches a 4 to 5% cap rate. There's few and far between, but you don't usually see a QSR restaurant on a hard corner, right? Because that property is more often not going to go for, you know, $1.2 million, $1.3 million an acre. But when you see that, you need an NOI that's going to be around 2 to 3 times what a single user would pay you. And a lot of times that leans it to be a multi-tenant building. But developers have gotten very creative in the past 4 to 5 years, knowing that the land costs are going up, construction costs are going up. But retailers, for whatever reason, they're claiming that they can't pay the rent. Well, we know that's not true. You just got to be identifying the right tenants that are having success. So doing a multi-tenant building there is a great option. And our meeting with Carolyn earlier, I understand that, you know, the plat was approved, and that was a very strenuous process, and that's just a testament to what Ashton was saying, the timeline of the deal. And I was telling Glenn earlier,
They don't even have control of this site yet, so,
Yeah.
you know, this has been on our prospect list since we came on board with the city, and they're just now about to have control of the site. So it's difficult to market a site to a retailer and extend that out there to them, and then to say, but you can't actually go there, and we don't really know when you can. So the fact that this is progressing to a point where it's actually a viable opportunity is very exciting. And then with the addition of the construction that's going on with the road, widening the roads and the
It's getting
intersections
better,
that are going on.
because I'm That's the only news, open up, and I got a parade of orange cones in front of me. But to what you were saying, with that property, again, it's just, I mean, it's imminent. I was saying
It's a
earlier
great
when I
site.
bought the property in Jackson, Florida, over 2 years, I called every retailer, you could just start naming them. I guarantee you could name one that I didn't talk to. There was probably 75 to 80 different merchants that said no, wouldn't give me the time of day. Not because they didn't think that the property was good, they didn't believe that we were gonna pull it together because of the construction costs and everything else, and lending environment and everything. Well, we shocked the world. We had to get 69% of our project that was 45 acres at 1.1 million an acre, 63% pre-leased in order to get the financing. Well, when we met that financing contingency, and the word was out that we were closing on the property, of those 75, 85 merchants that told me no, I'm using a conservative number, 40%. I mean, at a minimum, we're immediately calling me, hey, we want to look at this and et cetera, and it's just amazing because it's just these guys get these calls every single day. And until you have control of the property, they can't dedicate time to talk to you about it. So when that happens, I have a very, very strong feeling things are going to be moving relatively quick. And then the fun starts, right? Then you get to sit back and say, I'm not sure about that, or maybe we need to do this, and cards are in your hand. Three's kind of the same deal with 2, with the exception that it's not on a corner. It's a prominent location, lots of width. A single user there could work, probably better financially. It would make more economic sense. But again, it gets back to construction costs and what that guy's got in his land. He's got a demo ability, whereas Compass has already got that taken care of.
And speaking to just some of the challenges that we face in working with these real estate opportunities is that oftentimes the property owners may have some very emotional ties to their property or very inflated value of what the land is worth. And I can tell you that when I reached out originally to the owner of this property, he would not even speak with me. I told him that I was trying to recruit retail to the market and would like to talk to him about his property. He was not interested, completely shut me down. A year later, reached back out, totally different tune, definitely interested in doing something with the property, with a retail aspect to it. So that's just an example of the dynamics of the changing real estate market, and why it's important to have someone that's able to speak the language and that's able to connect with these people, with the local property owners, and explain to them the value that doing a retail development could bring to the quality of life and to the community as a whole.
Sorry, I skipped over the most important piece of property. I'll tell you now, recording is going to be if there's one mission I have in working with Helotes, it is using every angle I can ever imagine in trying to figure out how we work with Mr. Bitter's property. I mean, that should be your number one focus. There's no doubt. And I believe it or not, I've seen crazier cases, and it's only a matter, you just got to dig and dig and dig and figure out creative ways to pull the right people in the room. I mean, this needs to be a collaborative effort. When you have individuals that are not motivated.
You haven't met Mr. Bitter, have you?
I have not, but I have met people that sound just like Mr. Bitters.
Okay.
And it's challenging, and I'm going to reserve the right to say I failed later, but I'm okay failing.
Well, and
Okay?
he's starting to come around. We've seen him
Yeah, he is.
2 prospects, and he's told us no, or he's told them no. We connected the retailer directly with him, and he told them no. But it's just a matter of time. Like I said, a year and a half ago, he wasn't even interested in talking to me, and now before we ever send a retailer to anyone, we always touch base with the owner or the broker to make sure that it's a viable opportunity. And when we reached out the last time, and he said, yeah, sure, I'm thinking about doing something with it that would have a retail aspect to it, so I'll talk to them and at least hear what they have to say. So that's progress. Progress is being made, and we have to just continue to build off of it. The one other site that we haven't talked about yet is number 5 on this list. It's the 1.7 acres in front of Walmart next to Sonic. We are actively working with a national retailer that was once under contract for this site and walked away from the market due to economic issues to see how we may be able to work with the city and bring them back to the table and make the numbers work. So once we have some more feedback on that, we're engaged with them now. So once we have some answers, we'll be able to provide you with that and see if it would be an option. But they're a perfect fit for this site, and they would be a great addition to the market.
Any specific question, not any specific, in general, on this map? I mean, this is my Helotes Bible, and this is where it all starts, high level, 30,000 feet, doing this here, doing this there. And I know I'm not up to speed completely yet, but I look forward to fully engulfing myself on the changes to the lighting system that are gonna come. I mean, if there's anybody that can speak to that relative, I live in a city that just reorganized their entire lighting system down one of the most heavily trafficked corridors in the southeast. But at the end of the day, I get to work 18 minutes faster now. Was the process long, hard, and steady? No, it was just that. But now, today, you should see where it's at. But things changed along the way. Stores closed and relocated, and understanding where leases are the timing of those leases, and getting this news to these people, my contacts, because when these light changes happen, looking at it, I haven't had a chance to look at it, you can quickly assume a sales increase or decrease, and knowing how profitable this guy's store is and where his lease terms are, and getting him comfortable, because all it's going to take is something like that happening and a DM not be aware of it. All of a sudden on his report there's a 9% sales loss, and and the manager's kind of out of touch with the community. He's been on vacation and he didn't have an answer. He gets fired. The guy can't rehire, and he's incentive for drawing. I've seen it. This stuff happens, but it's little bitty things like that that you really don't think about that has a drastic impact. So again,
And this isn't an exhaustive list of the properties that we're evaluating
No,
and working
I love
with.
it.
This is just
high level.
kind of the big five, I guess you could say. Of course, we're actively engaged with any broker who has a property listed or any retail opportunity we have, I think that we have connected with.
As a retailer, if I'm calling, that, I want to talk about those five. Everything else that is great, but those five are what I'm going to be talking about. And if you feed me anything else, I know you're selling too much, and you obviously haven't done your research on what I'm interested in, and I'm not going to talk to you very long. With these guys, they got 5-10 minutes. You better hit them hard. You better hit them where they hurt. So yeah, you have any questions about this? Properties in general?
Or about anything.
Anything? Come on.
Where's the Bitters property?
Number 5, or number 3,
Number 3, it is,
It's that corner.
the large.
corner
It's the
right
corner
right across from
by the
Bill
bank.
Miller.
Oh, yeah.
Pizza Hut.
Really nice piece of
There you
property.
go.
Are we not doing anything with the Scenic Loop Bandera Road property?
No, I mean, every property, they're actively seeking, but this is going to be the first properties to develop on a national scale.
Talking about Bayless Miller's property
Yeah.
down at the corner of Scenic Loop and 16 at 20,
Well, yeah, it's in like 20.
32 acres.
32 acres.
So retail synergy is really important to retailers. They want to locate close to their competitors. And so the further that you get down, the less retail synergy that you have, the more challenging that selling that site becomes.
Yeah.
As the market grows, as the retail expands further, those sites become more viable opportunities.
Like, for example, it's big, but the rim, like, that probably doesn't happen in that Bass Pro. Like, you don't have half the acres that it would take to land that type of tenant that is gonna pull that kind of destination use. I mean, to build a center of that mass, you've gotta have a regional pull, of at least an hour and a half, to even get there. And when you're talking about locations and drive times and traffic counts, et cetera, the further you get out that direction, it tends to drop off. So the important thing is you have the opportunity, not the rim, but a very cool, eclectic, unique, what people actually want now in retail, right in the center of your community. they don't have what you have.
But yes, we have a full property catalog, and we've provided that to Glenn, so if there was something that was missing on there that should have been on there, I assure you, he would have pointed it out to us, because he has a very good working knowledge of the opportunities here in the market. So we just highlighted these 5 because we feel like, based on our experience and the retailers that we're talking to, they're really the most viable, immediate opportunities. Any other questions?
Very
Next
good.
slide.
I just
Thank
would
you.
like to make a comment. I really enjoyed your presentation, but having misspellings in your handout kind of did a little bit to the credibility, just to let you know that before you hand something to an EDC group, it should be looked out for errors. There's 3 spelling errors in there.
Especially when the first one is misspelling Helotes. Page 3.
Well, I apologize. I am dyslexic, diagnosed dyslexic, and so I have a challenge with spelling. It's my biggest challenge, and I try to have Bear review everything before I provide it. But we had some technical difficulties. Actually, my computer crashed, and so we had to transfer everything to his computer, and so I was working on it. But you are right, and we should have done a better job in reviewing, and that's something that I'm challenged with across the board. Have been since I was able to read and write. So I apologize to you, and we'll try to do a better job of having my spelling checked prior to providing materials in the future.
Well, I can understand, because I have to write with a
Sure.
dictionary under my elbow,
Yeah.
and
And-
spell
and
check doesn't work.
Yeah, and not to make excuses, we aim for perfection, but if I told you our number 1 focus was getting the spelling right, I would be lying. My number 1 focus is making as many phone calls as I can. There's a reason why I drove past the place 5 miles, because I'm on the phone with 2 different brokers. I'm 4 weeks in. I mean, I don't want to, I mean, all I want on here is success stories. I want to show a big sign of a now open and why, and keep the ball rolling.
But
yeah,
you were right,
I'll have to do a
and we
better job.
apologize. Thank you for pointing
I
it
just
out.
wanted to bring it to your attention.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Well, aside from that, it was a very good presentation. Thank you.
Was.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam.
And I promise the next time there will be no spelling errors.
It happened.
I will quadruple check it, or I'll have someone else do it, because I won't catch them.
That's what I have to do too, because I can't spell.
Don't ever prove your own
But
stuff.
any memo,
It looks right to me, so
Yeah.
I have to have someone else do it.
anything I write, I have to have someone else look at, because I'm
Sure.
the same way.
Sure. Okay, thank y'all so much, and I'm sorry, I'm new here, and I know you guys have been working hard, but I'm just excited about working with you guys and
Well, and if you have
making friends with
questions,
Mr. Bitters.
if you have questions that come up later, or thoughts, or someone locally approaches you about something that you think might be beneficial to us or that we could help with, please reach out. My cell phone number, and actually I think I had my cell phone number taken off there, but my email address and my office line are on there, and Glenn has my cell phone number, and I would love to make myself available to you or anyone locally if we can help things. I know that you have your feelers out all the time, and people are coming to you with things, so I encourage you to please reach out if there's ever any additional questions that we can answer or assistance that we can provide.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Thank you. Okay, so our next item is the presentation by staff of our multifaceted budget for next year.
There have been a few modifications to the proposed fiscal year ending 2018 budget. The biggest one we mentioned earlier during the consent agenda is in the sales tax revenue projections. We've upped that $130,000, so we're now projecting $852,000 in sales tax revenue. Go down the list, most everything is stayed the same to the current fiscal year 2017. Regarding personnel, and then professional services, the only thing that we've upped is the conceptual design and land use plan. We're hoping to be able to work with Mr. Bitters and also Bayless Miller on developing proposed site plans that we can actively market. The marketing budget is slightly higher. I will say that 2017, we started out with the $30,000 budget, but we had to shift things around a little bit. That gives us, the 30,000 gives us enough in the budget to not only promote the EDC and our properties, but also Shop Helotes. So we maintain shophelotes.com website, and we also have a Facebook page out there for Shop Helotes. And that's a big focus to drive traffic to local businesses. We always put about $1,000 in for website development, maintenance, both on the EDC and then on the Shop Helotes site, that's the business directory. Just for, if any improvements need to be made this last year, we actually updated the events listing and capabilities of our website to kind of streamline that process. Before, we had to go into 3 different platforms to update events. Now we can do it in one place, and it's distributed across the board. Let's see, you'll notice towards the bottom on professional services, market analysis and recruitment is $25,000. It's $5,000 less than the current period. And that's part of our 3-year contract. They started out at $35,000 the first year, $30,000 the second, and then $25,000 for the third. And if we decide to continue, therefore, it would be $25,000. Membership and training seminars is maintained about the same. The only difference you're going to see there is the reimbursement to city operating expenses. We are anticipating, relocating the EDC offices out of City Hall, and as part of that, then we're reducing the reimbursement we pay to the city of Helotes. But to counter office supplies and expenses, we've allocated $12,000 for future lease space. We've upped the office supplies and equipment to $7,500, and operational expenses and postage to $2,250, and then communication is relatively the same. Down on debt service, we did add in the 2015 C of O to include, I can't even remember what the amount was off the top of my head. 121,000. To include the 121,000 for the bridge that the board approved at the last special meeting. And this, in 2018, will be one of the highest years. The amortization schedule kind of lowers for 2019 to the kind of foreseeable future. And then we've got our capital budget. And over there, you'll see how much we brought, beginning fund balance, how much we had left over from last year, the $170,916, plus the $121,000 transfer from the C of O. So that gives us the $291,916, which is the anticipated cost of the pedestrian bridge. So we'll have hopefully an ending fund balance of 0. Are there any questions?
Said, just as a point of clarification, is this our third year on the commitment to the city for the contribution to the sewer and water project?
Yes, sir, it is. So it's the third and final year.
Roughly $150,000.
Yes, sir.
So we'll need to, that will be 2018. This year will be the final year coming up.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
So we'll discuss that as we get into the year and look at it for next year,
Correct.
for 2019.
That's correct. And I actually forgot to go over it. You'll notice on our operating budget, the excess and current revenues, it's $153,800. Excess revenues over expenses. So speaking to the 2019 budget, if we don't have to pay the $150 to the city on the water and sewer, then we're going to have $300,000 in excess revenues.
Well, we don't have to. We said at the time, we did a initial 3-year commitment to it. The city was It was kind of just on the bubble on whether we could afford to do the project or not to get the sewer and water project done, so we committed $150,000
For 3.
for 3 years with the caveat that at the end of the 3 years, we would look at continuing participation in that or not. We didn't commit to continuing participation, but we can if we want to. Okay, you're the banker. You got any questions?
No, Glenn explained the questions I had.
Excellent.
Yeah, I think we've pretty well gone over all this. We just had the increase in revenue we're gonna get from, where was it?
Yeah, BMC, that was a pleasant surprise.
Yeah,
Very nice
that's a big
surprise.
plus. Very nice.
I didn't catch the marketing, the increase in the marketing, first page. The justification behind that.
Yeah, I would say it's not really an increase. When we approved the 2017 budget, we approved 30,000. But throughout the year, we had other line items that exceeded expectations, so we just shifted money out.
I see.
And that marketing, this current year is how we paid for the Google 360 tours.
Yeah. Addition on
That's
that.
where the majority of it has gone.
Oh, and the brochure that they have made up for retailers, do you have copies of that to use here locally, or do they just
Yes.
distribute them?
Yeah, that brochure, yeah, I've got copies.
That was a very nice letter that you emailed to us today, that you received for
from-
the Google 360.
Yes.
So since agreeing or continuing that 360 program, he's done 10 businesses to date. He's completed and uploaded onto the Google Plus profiles, and I think he's scheduled to do 3 more tomorrow.
He did
So-
3 today.
He's hitting them hard.
Yeah.
And several
Reminder today, I
businesses,
saw him.
several businesses that were on the fence before have signed on. So they all see the benefit.
Very good.
Very good.
Did the businesses pay a little bit for that?
No, they don't have to pay anything for it. It's,
Okay.
the discount that EDC receives by doing kind of a bulk contract is anywhere from half to 75% off of the standard rate. And the EDC has just been paying 100%. So we, on average, we're paying $146 per business
Yeah,
to
well,
get that
that's,
service.
yeah, I understand, that's good.
That would be, if he were charging them, it'd be in the range of $275 up, depending on the size of the
Correct.
business.
Correct.
So that's a little thing that doesn't cost us a lot of money we can do for all the local businesses, and that may be something we want to,
You wouldn't want to put
Contract
that
with
money
him.
out, would you, Joe?
Probably not, no.
Probably not, so, yeah, there you go.
A lot of, well, retailers and honestly, a lot of small business owners
No.
are operating on very thin margins. So even to justify, for them to go out and get the service like Pat said, I mean, they're gonna pay probably at least $300 for a small business. A business like Floors would be $1,500 to
Yeah.
provide it. And for them, you can't track the ROI. Is there a benefit? I believe there's a benefit. Google will tell you there's a benefit. It increases your ranking in search results. It provides consumers a sense of what your business has to offer. But when it's, have an employee of 1, which a lot of our businesses do, they just don't have it.
Yeah. Okay. It's a nice little caveat. Right.
And tonight, there's no action needed on the budget. We've got another public hearing at the next meeting.
and we'll approve it at the next meeting. Right. Okay, item 9 is discussion and action on an agreement for management services between the City of Helotes and EDC for FYE 2018, beginning October 1st, 2017. Could I have a motion to discuss, please?
I move that we discuss the agreement for management services between the city and the EDC.
Second.
Okay, moved by Diane, seconded by Wayne. We've pretty well covered this. We want to go over, Rick, I think basically where we are, we got the $5,400 in there for next year, and that if, I think August and September, we should be able to be in something by then, but if we're not, that would be prorated at a higher rate until the time that we move into another space, correct?
No, my plan was for y'all to adopt the agreement tonight, and if you do so, your charge for next fiscal year would be $5,400, and we would just have to work with y'all on the time frame of when y'all would be moving out, whether it's
Okay.
sometime in October or before then, so.
Well, if there's any problem, we can work that out too. That's not a problem.
Yeah, as far as my opinion, it's $5,400 for next year,
Okay.
with the understanding that eventually the EDC would find its own place, yes.
Anybody have any questions on it?
No, that answered. I mean, we don't have a hard deadline that we have to be out, is
No.
or what is our additional cost if we're not out by September 1 or October 1 or whatever the date is.
Have a motion to approve the agreement for management services, please.
I motion that we approve
Moved by
the
Wayne,
management service agreement between the City of Helotes and the City of Helotes Economic Development Corp.
I'll
To be modified pending the EDC does not depart City Hall by the 1st of October.
motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Passed unanimously. I don't think we have any reason to have a closed session, do we? Lynn, Rick?
I do not have anything new to discuss. I
No,
don't,
we just, we need to get something on board to find a space, and, yes, we can't do it tonight, it's not on the agenda, but I would be in favor if we find a space, we don't have to wait till the next meeting to approve the space. If Rick and Glenn and I, if some of y'all want to look at it, if something does come up on short notice, that we could go ahead and move on it and then approve it.
True.
I don't think anybody would object to that, 'cause it'll be something at a reasonable price. If we find something that we have to move on quick, it'll be
I have
Good
no
deal.
problem with that.
okay. No further business. We stand adjourned at 8:02 p.m.